or footage inside the project. Go to File, Import File, locate the files you want to import on your computer, select, and then open. I like to keep things organized, so I'm going to move all my imported files inside the Import Here folder with this guy here. And then we need to place the pictures inside the composition. So let's start with the first one, with picture 1. Open the comp. Select the picture you want to be the first one to show at the beginning of the animation, and simply drag and drop it in the composition. You then scale it to fit the size of the comp. I like to use the layer, transform, and fit to comp width. And you do the same thing with the pictures you want to show in the animation. So let's go with picture 2, drag and drop, scale it like that. Picture 3. There we go. You then need to do the same thing with the logo. So depending on which animation you're going to use, you place your logo inside the logo composition or the logo square. Let's start with the logo, which is used in the landscape and widescreen animation. So I'm going to go and select my logo. I'm going to use an Illustrator file, so I'm going to choose a layer I want to use, place it there. I'm going to disable this layer so we can see through during the animation, and use the background of the animation. I'm going to place it in the center, and again I can choose to transform, fit to comp width, and it's going to automatically center the image and scale it to fit the comp width. I'm also going to enable the continuously rasterize layer right here, since I'm using a vector file. I'm just going to scale it down just a little bit, just like that. Okay. If you are using the animation with the square, go inside the logo square composition and place your logo inside the composition. Make sure you enable the continuously rasterize if you're using vector files. Just like that. You can also use a custom background. So you go inside the composition and you can change the color or even place a picture that is going to be used as a background. But in this case, I'm going to just use the default background. You also have the slogan text composition, where you can change your slogan or just the text at the end of the animation. My new text, I'm gonna make this guy bold. You go inside the style control composition. As you can see, my new slogan is right there, as well as my imported picture. With this composition, you can change the style of the overall animation. You can start by changing the theme color, and you can choose the color that you want, just like that. I'm still going to use a light gray for this example. You can also choose to enable the custom back of the picture color, so the custom back color that you can also change right there. Or just choose to not use the custom color and just use the theme color back of the picture. You can change the opacity of the main shadow, which is the shadow behind the first picture. And you can also do the same thing with the shadow between the picture to increase the opacity with a maximum of 100. You can enable or disable the frame that is used inside the pictures, enable or disable. And if the frame is enabled, you can also change the width of the frame. You can also change the frame color. And you can also use your custom background. If you are using the custom background, remember to place a picture or change the color inside the custom background composition. BG custom comp right there. As you can see, it's now enabled. And you can also change the color of your slogan text. You can also change some elements of the logo. You can add a frame around the logo page. And you can also change the width and the color of this frame. In this case, I'm just going to disable the logo frame. Okay, you can now move on and choose the composition that you're going to use for the animation. You have the choice between landscape, widescreen, and square. In this example, I'm going to use the landscape. Inside the composition, you can see the pick layers. You can use up to 10 pictures for the animation. Simply move around in the timeline the pictures that you need. In this case, I'm using 5. And where you place it in the timeline indicates where the picture is going to arrive. So this layer triggers the animation of a picture. So if you want to use more, simply move more picture layer in the timeline. This is my logo layer, so I'm going to move it forward if there is more picture. So here's a 7-1. If I want an 8th, just like that. And you can also select where you want your logo to arrive, just by moving it in the timeline. If you want more space between them, just move them around. If you want them closer, to have like more like a faster animation, just move them closer in the timeline. But I'm still gonna use my 5 picture for this example. Once you have placed the pictures in your timeline, you can choose between 2 different endings. You have the logo flat, which is the logo going flat with the background at the end. Or you can also choose the logo bounce effect, which is the logo staying on screen with just a little bounce of the page right there. And you can also move the logo layer in the timeline to make it arrive sooner or later. You can also choose to use or not use the slogan. Simply enable or disable this layer. And you can also scale it up, move it around, and place it where you want it to appear in the timeline. So for this example, I'm still going to use my logo flat with the slogan right there. Once you have placed your pictures, layers, logo, and slogan in the timeline, you are good to render. But if you want to use the camera animation, simply enable the camera layer, and you'll see there's a zoom out effect animated here. If you are using more than 5 pictures, I suggest you increase or actually make the zoom out effect longer. So choose the cam layer, hit U on the keyboard to show the keyframe used in the animation, and you can move the ending keyframe where you want it to be in the timeline. So let's say you are using 8 pictures. The animation is going to be slightly longer, so just place this guy further in the timeline to fit the end of your animation. You can also change the position of the camera, the ending point as well as the first point. If you want things to be closer at the beginning. So that's it for the camera. You can also choose to use the blur effects, which is motion blur effects on top of the animation. It really gives a smooth render for the transition and movement, but it's also going to increase dramatically the render time. You can also use the light, which is going to give you a nice gradient, some sort of lighting of the scene. And you can also combine the light and the blur effects. But again, the render time is going to increase by 10 times probably. And you also can activate the camera as well. One last thing would be the scale layer, which is basically a layer that controls the scale of the animation. So increase and decrease the scale layer. So that's it. Hope you like it and you enjoy the file. Thanks again.